It was actually a video by Aaron. Actually, that I didn't know Aaron prior to the video.
The classic, the classic. The classic.
Don't be fooled. I've been fooled.
So earlier you was saying how you use astrology to discern your way through this navigation of psyops and controlled opposition. And could you touch briefly on the Aquarian energy and how we've entered there? Because I know a lot of people know about that, even if they don't know about astrology. So could you just touch on the Aquarius age and how astrology plays its role right now as well?
So I'm going to touch on the Aquarian age, the age of Aquarius, and I'm also going to just touch on a little bit at the end about how astrology has its own role in this on a personal level as well as a global level, because as we know, macro and micro levels are very much real. So on a macro level, the planet, the world, Earth goes through its own cycles, and they're 2,500 years long each. Each age is 2,500 years long. They're around 25,000-ish years for a full, it's known as a grand age, basically, and that is a full cycle around the zodiac for the planet, the world, the Earth. So we've just left the age of Pisces. So Pisces age is spirituality. It's it's represented by the two fish swimming opposite directions. So it is spirituality, ascension. It is the collective, it is merging with the collective as well. Hence spirituality. When you get down to the core fundamentals, it is oneness, and Pisces is one. And if anyone knows their Pisces friends, you'll know that Pisces just takes on the energy of everyone else. Basically, Pisces is collective. It is spirituality, religion, fantasy, dreams, delusions. It's ruled by Neptune, which is it's creative as well, very, very creative. It is almost the higher vibration of Venus. It's like what Venus transforms into. Venus is beauty, romance, love, creativity, aesthetics, all of that. But Neptune is like poetry. Think of Neptune as that fucking drunk poet who's just got deep creativity in its soul. It's crying, it wants its pain out on the paper. It's just gonna fucking just create something out of its deep pain. So that can create a Pisces victimhood as well. Pisces has a victimhood around it because it's just kind of connected to the collective pain. So we've just left the Piscean age, which started in around 0. just look at when it started. 0. What happened at 0? Religion started to take over the planet and control people. Current religion anyway.
So this was them kind of hijacking the Piscean age.
They hijacked the potential for spiritual ascension, spiritual growth, and they made it into a book, which then became the fucking cause of how many deaths over the past 2,000 years. No offense to any Christians, I'm sure the intention's fine from you personally, but that religion kind of took over the planet, basically. And if we just go back to what Magnus was saying earlier, Pope Innocent III and what he literally has done to our nation, just deeply treasonous and corrupt and criminal. So that's how they corrupted the Piscean age. Now, Aquarian energy, its 11th house, it's ruled by Uranus, and its co-ruler is Saturn. Saturn was its original ruler, but now it's Uranus. It is humanitarian. It is the one fighting the cause. It's the rebellion. It is freedom fighter. It's humanitarianism. It's outer social groups. It rules technology. It rules social media. Because of the rule over technology, it rules over things that basically progress the collective on a physical level, whereas Pisces is a spiritual progression for the collective ascension. Aquarius is, it's that rebellion, freedom fighting energy. It's the breaker of systems more importantly. Wherever you find, exactly, Bob Marley, big Aquarius, man. Big Magnus, big Aquarius as well. So if if you know your natal chart, look at where Uranus is placed. For example, if it's placed in the 6th house, which mine is, you'll have like a rebellious nature around work. You won't be able to fit into the normal system of work, so you're going to have to create your own system of work, basically. You're going to have to do something that's different, something that's true to you. So, yeah, it's about breaking systems. It's about going against the grain. It's about fighting for what's true, what's right, what's honourable. And it's about fucking standing in your principles. It is literally Aquarius energy does not give a fuck about what anyone thinks. It's there. It literally stands in its sovereignty, speaking the truth, even if it's getting stoned to death. It's never going to change. It's a fixed air sign. Air rules the mind. Fixed is its mode, and fixed is just unshakable. So it's unshakable in its mind. That's why sometimes you can speak to an Aquarius and they can be quite closed-minded to what you've got to say. They've kind of got to realise things for themselves. So it's that energy. It's like very rebellious. It's very like independent. And if we look at what's happened over the past year, if there's one energy that Babylon shouldn't be able to control and manipulate, it is the Aquarian energy. And you have to just rate them to even 1% just for being able to manipulate that Aquarian energy. Because if we look at the causes that have been fought over the past year, BLM, as much as racism is very real, very much exists, and there is still a lot of residue from Babylon fucking literally pitting us against each other on the basis of melanation of the skin, which is as fucking ridiculous as it gets. It's as ridiculous. We've got to rate them for that as well. Like for them to be able to finesse us for this colour of our skin, I have to rate them. It was just 1%. Well. Yeah, they called it a race as well. They literally called it a race. They are literally pricks. So they took a deep, deep emotional trigger of the collective. For instance, we all know how it is a deep trigger for black people, what's happened because of race. And it's also then been twisted into being a trigger for white people having to defend themselves and play that white guilt out and just like act as if they're not racist. I've seen some of probably the most like, I would say they're probably like the least awake to race people that I've ever seen in my life. Like the people that I know just that probably think, or probably did think before last year, that racism didn't exist and whatever, and they lived out racism in their daily life, just institutionalized racism, just the racism that everyone's inherently born with in this system. They lived that racism out until last year. Until last year, they lived that out. And then last year, they spent the whole of last year proving to people they're not racist by going to these controlled opposition groups and being that humanitarian Aquarian age individual. And yeah, man, like they managed to just manipulate that humanitarian like freedom fighting energy
and use it against
the people. Like it's just so sick and twisted. And yeah, literally, they turned people into virtue signalers last year, man. Like just think of how many people are acting like humanitarians for the wrong causes, or not even necessarily for the wrong causes, just the causes that are right and righteous. But
it's like what's the deeper cause right now? Is kind of thing, isn't it? It's like it's like allowed people to bypass what really should be looking at, and to me that's the mental slavery. Do you know what I mean?
And also that they know about, like, they're trying to like re-trigger the old patterns. You know, like the civil acts and stuff.
Like, when the Black Lives Matter stuff was going on, like you saw all these slavery films all of a sudden just appear on Netflix and stuff, and it's like, well, of course that's going to trigger something, especially if at a time when like you've just seen this. We know whether it was a psyop, but the situation, a knee on the neck. Do you know what I mean? After seeing that, you're gonna see now your ancestors getting lynched.
Yeah, I remember even making a post myself. I saw the George Floyd thing, and I was like, right, it just got me. I wrote like fucking 5 stories. People that have got me on Instagram, they know that I go in.
And I think a lot of people deep down that did know that something ain't right with this, but again, a lot of people know a lot's not going right, but it's because there's so many people following that, and there's this everyone's going out dressed in all black,
Yeah.
Oh, guess I've got to do it. Oh, there's a black square. Everyone's posting. Oh, I guess I've got to do that. And it's like, they don't realize they've partake to the ritual. Yeah.
All the while they're doing this because they can't do it to us, and they're trying to get us to do it to each other because they can't do it to us.
Yeah,
collective at the time. That it's much easier for them to have a BLM and an Antifa and to put, okay, let's try and get black versus white now. That will get a few of them off the grid, and then we'll just take out what's left. Like
literally.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, exactly. We stopped them by racing each other and going and fucking ripping up that little race.
Literally. So when it comes to discerning information, that was really the first thing for me last year that like taught me like, wow, because I'm not going to lie, like I've been awake to the agenda for years, like 10 years, maybe just under 9 years, something like that. But I just fell back into the system and fell back into like, okay, this is just how it is and whatever. And then that George Floyd thing, it was actually a video by Aaron, actually, that I didn't know Aaron prior to the video.
The classic.
Don't be fooled. I've been fooled. So yeah, man, that just kicked off my like extra layer of discernment that was needed, man. Like, and I was like, wow, like
humbles you as well, innit?
Yeah. And you've also got to think, like, how many black people have been killed by the police over the past 10 years? So many. What makes this one the special one that created the uprising? Do you know what I mean?
Or the black on black, which is a sensitive one, which people don't want to talk about.
Definitely.
And me and Aaron we spoke about these rappers advocating for Black Lives Matter, but in their tune simultaneously they're talking about killing their fellow black man. So it's like, where's the sense in that? Like, what angle are you coming from? What direction? Especially when you know there's like millions now of young black kids listening to your music. Well, they're going to listen to music rather than become a humanitarianism. So it's when you see it from so many different angles, you start to build this kind of like picture of like, you can over question things, but at this time I'd rather over question everything than rather be that submissive passive person who doesn't look at anything. And it all comes back down to what you said with the Aquarian energy, and that we're surfacing a lot of like rebellion energy naturally on the planet. We're getting given that by this by the universe, and now they're hijacking it to use against us, so that we don't use it for benevolent reasons like coming together and rebelling against the tyranny or the system, using remedies like Article 61. We'd rather post black squares or go marching or throw eggs and stuff.
It's just also then it's just ego based. Like, and when people deep what ego is, a lot of people think it's chains and cars and whatever. Ego is literally just anything you identify yourself with, or any cause that you're gonna back from maybe even a closed-minded perspective. Like, ego is the opposite to openness. Like, ego, it's a big block for like receiving information, and a lot of people took that BLM thing and made it a part of their ego to be the freedom fighter or the person standing up for black people or whatever. But where have you been for the past 5 years? You know what I mean? And this is also why people need to do the deep work on themselves as well, and also bring in the spiritual element as well. Like, obviously I'm not black myself, as you can probably tell, but like for a lot of black people, like for a lot of black people, like the skin color becomes an identity as well because of the trauma and the triggers associated around it. So when something like BLM kicks off, like
they're instantly identifying with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of black people would have felt like if they don't step in now and say something, then they're going to be automatically on the side of the oppressor because of all of these things, all of these.
So that's what we got in it, Aaron. That people saying we're taking the side of the oppressor.
Yeah, man.
It was interesting to see all play out. Definitely,
man. And when you really deep it from a spiritual perspective as well, like I said, one of the core fundamentals of spirituality is oneness, and you know, whether or not you believe in reincarnation or whether you understand reincarnation, all of us have probably been every single type of race. We've probably been the butcher and the farmed animal. We've probably been the slave owner and the slave. We've probably been so many different roles and understood it from every single angle already. So we need to identify the triggers in this human mind that we've got at this point, because if we don't take control of our own triggers and if we don't take control of our own mind and identify, okay, I felt rejection here. Okay, I felt isolation here. Isolation's a trigger from my childhood because, you know, like my parents like used to fucking speak to my family and say he's a piece of shit or a devil or whatever, and like he's a bad kid, and the family didn't understand me. So there's a misunderstanding is created as a trigger, and the misunderstanding you're facing in society now is just really bringing up a lot of childhood stuff for you. Like, and until you can really identify and be consciously aware of your triggers and of your trauma and of what you went through throughout childhood, then you're going to be just a little piece on the chessboard for them, because they're just going to know exactly, because you've got to remember they've got top psychologists and top astrologers, and there's so many different angles that they come from, and what psychologically is one of them, because they know how people are triggered. They've got top behavioral psychologists, they've got top developmental psychologists that know about childhood and how important the non-verbal years were. And people need to remember, like, a lot of our triggers are built from 0 to 3. Like, I can't remember fucking 0 to 3. Do you know what I mean? I don't remember what happened. It's only through therapy and digging in and at my natal chart astrologically, like, I can identify, like, okay, what was my journey in this lifetime, and what are my triggers, and what's going to really get my back up. And I'm not going to lie, I still get triggered pretty much daily. I still do, and I live out those triggers. But it's just about
extracting the lessons,
self-assessment,
though, isn't it?
man. Yeah, it's about self-assess, like a daily, like not daily, just assessing. Okay, what did that bring up for me? What am I reacting to the situation, or am I reacting to something that I've unconsciously buried from childhood that's just waiting to be brought up so I can consciously deal with it? And yeah, man, like it's very important for people to be digging into their self-work right now, because it's very triggering, it's very traumatic, and we're living through really oppressive and traumatizing times, man. Like, and it's going to be bringing up a lot of unhealed stuff for people. Like, a lot of the men in the movement right now, I'm seeing angry young boys that are angry at life. Like, they feel like it's, for me, one of my triggers is powerlessness, like feeling powerlessness against, like, my mom's boyfriends who are abusive and whatever. And like, I get a powerlessness feeling around certain men, so I become aggressive, and I'm ready to stamp on it. Do you know what I mean? Not really, but like, I just get enraged at other men sometimes, and like that for me is a trigger, and that's something that I need to deal with myself before, like, and people are just unconsciously playing these triggers out, and I'm seeing that from a lot of people, man. So if there's one thing that you can do for yourself and the collective right now, it's just literally just assess your emotional health and assess your mental state and assess what things are bringing up for you, and just it's as cheesy, but it's just stay conscious, man. You got to stay conscious. Like, if that means you've got to meditate for an hour in the morning so you can separate the trigger and the reaction, and you've got to meditate for an hour in the morning. And meditating for an hour in the morning, if the whole world did that, fuck me, treason would be gone next week. Do you know what I mean? Treason would be gone next week, man. It's so important to be doing the self-work. And that's what I wanted to touch on with astrology. Like, astrology is like a quick, fast blueprint. This is who you are. This is your triggers. This was your early upbringing. As much as people probably aren't going to agree with that, I can tell you everything about your life from your natal chart. And there's like themes in your natal chart. For example, if there's themes with Pluto in the 4th house or Pluto in the moon, that means there's going to be some deep triggering around the maternal mother role in your life, be that your mom, be that your dad, be that the social worker or care or whatever, but it's going to be the maternal figure that played the main maternal role in your life. If there's a moon and Pluto aspect, that means there's going to be a lot of obsession, there's going to be a lot of paranoia, jealousy, there's going to be a lot of control, domination around your inner emotional state that's been built from your maternal role in life. That's as deep as it gets. Like, it literally can, it's a fast track blueprint to who you are in this lifetime and what you're here to learn. And
it doesn't mean your future's fixed, though, does it?
No, it doesn't. Like for example, like I said earlier, like with astrology, there is low vibration, like neutral and high vibration. So, for example, a low vibrational Scorpio is a deeply transformative energy, and a lot of Scorpios will have lived out, or a lot of people with like Scorpio in their chart, heavy Scorpio or Pluto in their chart, will have lived early lives that were very dark, very, very dark. Like, they would have they could have even lived out some sexual abuse. I've seen more people than not with heavy Pluto in their chart, especially when it's related to the moon. So if they've got moon in the 8th house and it's in Scorpio, they will have lived out sexual abuse and sexual trauma, and that means that they're going to have been given like deep trauma based around sex and like merging with another and connecting to another and attachment. So in their earlier years, they're going to be coming from low vibrational Scorpio, which is like I said, paranoia, jealousy, manipulation, like fucking like control, possession, obsession, domination. Like that's low vibrational Scorpio, whereas high vibrational Scorpio is transformative, deeply intuitive, like emotionally intelligent, like has the deep capacity to go there with the depths of what human beings can do, like sexual abuse and whatever. Like high vibrational Scorpios are just able to go there, like whereas me personally, I don't really like to go there because it takes me out of my fantasy land, do you know what I mean? So
we need to get you on for a solely astrology podcast. Just Jim, just to talk about astrology. But yeah, I think so much has been covered, and I'll just round it up with, what would you say, like 3 tips, like just for people right now that they can take away and just apply
astrologically.
No, just in general. Like we've talked about about like, well, I'll go first with what I think. So I think from what we spoke about, unity is super important.
Super important. Man.
And organization within the community, as well as unity, and applying the correct remedy, which we've clearly established is Article 61 of Magna Carta.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna go with the 3 things that I think is gonna help people the most right now, man. So I think number 1 is just let your ego come to the side, man, because ego is going to be such a block right now. People trying to be a leader is going to be a block right now. People trying to start their own thing, like as well intentioned as it may be, like you have to dig into how deep ego can run. Like anything can be used as an ego tool, anything at all. Now you need to just take control of that ego inside you, that megalomaniac that wants the power, that wants the control, because it's going to be in there and it's going to be covert, and it's going to be maybe not so easy to pick up on if you've not been doing your self-work, man. And like I say, that's number 1. Let your ego come to the side. Number 2, which is also kind of number 1 as well, is dig into yourself, dig into your triggers, dig into your relationship to your maternal and paternal relationships in your childhood, and maybe any brothers and sisters and friends, and how you relate to society as a child, because that's all going to be playing out now. And like even for people that are sitting on the fence with the whole movement and like thinking, you know, I'm just going to carry on wearing the mask, just take the vaccine, it'll be fine. That's also your relationship to your parents playing out, because you're living out that, oh, I'll just be a good boy, I'll just be a good girl, and that will like get me what I need in this household or whatever. And number 3 is get active, man. Don't rely on pieces of paper and don't rely on other people. Like you need to get active in your community, and you need to make your own communities of people that you can genuinely trust to remedy solutions for people. Like for instance, people that we know of, like Truth Pills, Danny, like hold tight him, remedying people to go to hospitals when they're being held against their will. That is what real action is. They got 20-30 people to a hospital that evening and they got her out. Now that is the be all and end all, man. Get active in your community and don't rely on other people to lead you. Lead yourself, and when you lead yourself, you'll lead yourself to the right people that can help gain you whatever power or whatever you need to in your community. And I also don't come from power, but I mean power in a positive way, like the power to lead people down the right path. Yeah, man, those 3 are big ones.
I was doing some camera work. Yeah, we're out here. I'll just hold it for a second. But yeah, man, thank you for listening. And I just want to say, yeah, just try and just ground yourself right now, and don't lose yourself on social media or trying to like burn out. This is a marathon. But at the same time, there is a sense of urgency, and we have to step into our hearts now as well, and really try not to judge people, even the people that are doing this to us. Let's try not to judge them. And like everyone said here as well, this isn't a time for like trying to be a leader out of ego. A lot of people look to us and think that we're leaders, and we all definitely have them traits, but all of us are humble, and we know that we're not trying to be leaders. We're just literally just young men who are just trying to
add value, man, and make other leaders. Just let other people be leaders in their own life. There's one thing that I always say is like, please do not look at me and say, I see what you're doing, because what I'm doing, you should be doing, because all I'm doing is leading my own life the way I want to do it from a sovereign-based spiritual perspective. And I think as long as people realize that they have to take responsibility for their life, yes, it's going to be a bit tough. It's going to be it's hard to grasp at times, but you have to understand that that true path, the authentic path, is the path you should really be on. So yeah, man, just step into you.